Why $1.8 million wasn't enough, the retirement mistakes smart people make. I want to tell you about a client of mine named Tom. Now, Tom had just turned 65. He'd spent 32 years at a pharmaceutical company in New Jersey, senior finance director. This is a man who understood numbers, budgets, projections, forecasts. He was the person that other people came to when the math didn't make sense. He retired on a Friday. His colleagues threw him a party, and they gave him a watch. Yep, they still do that. There were champagne toasts and stories and all the things that you imagine when you picture the last day of a career. That night, he and his wife Linda drove home talking about what came next. The Alaska cruise they postponed 3 times, a month in Tuscany they had been dreaming about since their 20s. Every grandkid soccer game, every school play, every birthday party, finally, no conflicts. And they had $1.8 million in retirement accounts. Social Security was coming, their health was good, the mortgage was paid off, they had done everything right. 6 months later, Tom's sitting at his kitchen table at 2 a.m. with a calculator in hand, surrounded by account statements and tax documents, trying to figure out why the plan was already showing cracks. Here's what happened. They started taking withdrawals from Tom's 401k that made complete sense. That's what the money was for. But what they hadn't accounted for was that every dollar coming out of that account got taxed as ordinary income, the same as when he was working. And when you added it all up, Tom was actually in a higher tax bracket in retirement than he had been in the last years of his work, and that wasn't the plan. Then, that extra income triggered something called IRMA, which is a Medicare surcharge that most people have never heard of, and added $2,400 a year to their Medicare premiums, taken right from their Social Security. Then, 3 months into retirement, the market dropped 18%. Tom told me later that when he was working, he would always stay calm through a downturn, because as the account value went down, his salary kept showing up. He kept investing, and he had faith that it would come back. But this was different, because they were pulling out $8,000 a month out of accounts that were shrinking at the same time, and the math was terrifying. They were selling investments at a loss just to pay for groceries and utilities, and every dollar they sold at a loss was a dollar that couldn't participate in that recovery. He knew at least that much about the math. But here's a moment that changed everything for them. Linda's mother, Dorothy, had a stroke, and Dorothy needed round-the-clock care. The facility that Linda felt good about, the one that she could actually picture her mother living in, cost $9,200 a month. Dorothy's savings would last maybe 18 months, and after that, the family would need to help. And Tom and Linda looked at each other across the kitchen table and asked the question that they had never seriously sat with before, which was, what if this happened to us? Suddenly, the $1.8 million looked very different. 30 years of retirement, rising healthcare costs, long-term care needs that they hadn't planned for, and market swings that they had to live through without a paycheck coming in. And the taxes that kept taking a bigger bite than expected. Tom said to me something that I'll never forget. He said, Victor, I've been a senior finance director. I understood numbers, budgets, projections, but I realized that night that I'd been preparing for the wrong test. I knew how to accumulate wealth, but I had no idea how to turn it into sustainable income that would participate for the rest of our life. That line, preparing for the wrong test, is the most honest description I've ever heard about what retirement actually is. Because for decades, the job was pretty straightforward. Earn, save, let it grow. Put money in, let it compound. The game rewarded discipline, patience, and the hockey stick always went up. And by the way, Tom and Linda had both. But retirement is a completely different game. The rules change, and almost nobody tells you. You're no longer building the pile. Now you have to live on it for 30 years, maybe longer, while managing taxes, while protecting against market swings, keeping pace with inflation, and absorbing the kinds of surprises that life always delivers, like the need for long-term care. And the skills that made you great at accumulation don't automatically transfer to being the right skills that you need in retirement. In fact, some of the instincts that served you well, keep it all invested, ride out the volatility, maximize the growth, can actually work against you once you're in distribution mode. That's what Tom discovered at 2 a.m. Not that he had done anything wrong or irresponsible. He'd done everything right by the rules of the game that he was playing. He just didn't know that the rules had changed. Here's the good news. Tom and Linda's story has a happy ending. Today, a few years later, they've taken the Alaska cruise, twice actually. They made it to Tuscany, they haven't missed a grandkid event, just like they had wanted. And when Dorothy needed help, they were able to be there for her without derailing their own planning. The difference wasn't luck. They didn't just happen upon a better ending. It was that they had created a comprehensive plan that treated retirement like what it actually is, which is a 30-year strategic challenge with its own rules, its own risks, and its own solutions. And there are 4 specific blind spots that caught Linda and Tom off guard, and they're the same 4 that I see come up again and again with people who have done everything right during their working years. Unexpected tax exposure in retirement, the risk of outliving your savings, the danger of market volatility when you're withdrawing instead of saving, and healthcare costs that most plans simply don't account for. None of these are random. None of them are unavoidable. They got names, they got mechanisms, and they have solutions, but only if you know to look for them. So if this is resonating with you, if you're in that window where retirement's on the horizon and you're starting to wonder whether your plan accounts for the game that you're actually about to play, I'd encourage you to take a few minutes with our guide to the gaps. It's a short self-assessment. It's about 3 minutes long, and it gives you a clear picture of where your plan is solid and where there might be exposure. No selling in the document, just clarity. The link is in the description, and it's completely free. Tom's message to anyone that's watching this would be simple. Don't wait for your 2 a.m. moment. The mistakes that happen in the early years of retirement, the ones that come from not knowing that the rules have changed, they compound over time. You've worked too hard and saved too well to find this out after the fact. That's what we're here to help you avoid.